This story may seem a bit outlandish, insane even, but when you're a scientist at a lab that no one even knows about and a strange man in a tube is begging you to tell their story and screaming to get it out to the public, you feel obliged to tell it. Now, I know this may result in my immediate termination, if not worse, but honestly, I don't quite care. If there is even a grain of truth to this story, people deserve to know. I'd also like to tell you that I am no writer, so if this isn't great, I do apologize. And for the missing person reports that date back many years, police still have not found any leads to the odd disappearance of multiple people around our little town of Welks, Utah. If police find any new leads, I, Nathan White, will be the first to give you the news. Nathan White is a small town reporter who is finishing up his final words of the day's news. Charlie Akins, Nathan's colleague and longtime friend, is manning the camera. Nathan is your typical guy who never gives up and has the determination of a beaver building its dam. He will take any story he is given and will do his best to make it the best. Charlie, on the other hand, is about as outgoing as a sloth and so paranoid he can't go anywhere without thinking the worst, but will never leave his friend's side. Soon after the two wrap up, Charlie gets a call from their boss who claims to have a new story they could cover. Nathan places their gear in the news van as Charlie walks over. With the way Charlie nervously walks over, Nathan knows something is odd. So what's the deal? We got a story or what? Charlie gets in the driver's seat of the van without saying a word, and Nathan quickly follows, getting into the passenger seat. As Charlie begins driving, he tells Nathan what their boss had spoken to him about. An old abandoned government facility sits out in the farthest outskirts of the town. It's in the shape of a dome that's large enough to house an entire town. There's no records of anyone ever entering the facility since the 50s, and no one seems to know what it was for. Only thing anyone knows, or suspects, is that it may be cursed or haunted, as people who have ever been near it claim to hear screams and voices coming from within. Charlie is hesitant of even the thought of covering the story, but continues to drive, assuming Nathan will be intrigued. Charlie was correct, of course, as Nathan quickly calls their boss to inform him that they're checking it out. Without question, Charlie continues driving until they are so far out that Welks is completely out of sight in the rearview mirror. They eventually see a large structure in the distance that they quickly realize is the center of their new story. Holy shit, Charlie, I've never seen this place before and just, wow, Nathan says excitedly. Nathan, I don't know about this one. Something seems off. Even the boss seemed hesitant to tell me about this place. Charlie responds, come on, Charlie, we've always wanted to cover a ghost story. No, you have always wanted to cover a ghost story. I've always wanted to get the hell away from every single person I come in contact with and sleep in my bed. Don't do me like that. You know I've got your back through thick and thin, Nate. But I've seriously got a bad feeling about this one. I know, but come on, serious, lie. Nathan is awestruck by the sight of a large sign on the outer brink of a long driveway leading to the entrance of the dome. The sign reads, Restricted Area, Envirodome. We experiment for the safety of our people. Special access is needed beyond this point. Although it was obvious by the city-sized dome in the middle of the desert, this sign fully confirmed they were in the right place. They continue down the driveway until they finally reach a parking lot that lies in front of the only noticeably cube-like design of the entire facility. The parking lot was small, or at least it seemed that way based on how huge the building was. Nathan and Charlie assumed it would be glass, but instead the decrepit building, now known to be the Envirodome, was made of a strong, thick, yet rusted metal. They realized this was most likely by design, considering the people who created it wouldn't have wanted anyone to know what went on inside. Almost the entire building was covered in a thick layer of vines except for the front door. The doors at the entrance were oddly only covered in smaller vine growth that was far more fragile than the rest. Charlie parks the van as an awestruck Nathan barely waits for him to stop and exits the passenger side. Charlie hesitantly follows suit. Nathan reaches the double entrance doors and rips away the vines. He quickly finds the handle of the right door and much to his surprise, it cracks open. "Ooh, spooky," Nathan jokingly says to Charlie. "Shut up," Charlie snaps back. As Nathan and Charlie open the large metal door and walk inside, they find far more than, yet somehow everything, they had expected. The duo walk inside only to find an entire small community within. Businesses, homes, trees, and more fill the miles-long dome in all directions, seemingly to no end. There's a whole damn town in this place. How the hell did not a single person know this existed? Charlie exclaims out of pure shock. Dude, how the fuck am I supposed to know? That's why we're here, remember, to cover the story of this place and get it out to the people. Nathan sarcastically snaps back. Charlie, nervous as all hell, ignores Nathan as they continue forward in the hopes to find information on this place somewhere inside. They don't even reach but about 10-15 feet inside before the door slams shut behind them and locks itself into place. Once fully locked, the doors start to change as if there was never a door or wall there at all. It quickly changes into a hyper-realistic hologram of more trees and roads. Soon enough, it looked as if an exit never even existed. Nathan quickly realizes that there seemingly are no walls in any direction. However, realistically and logically, there must be dead ends in all directions. The dome was obviously designed in a special way. Although there was a dome surrounding the town inside, there were still plenty of places Nathan and Charlie could explore. With beautifully green trees all around, houses and even rundown businesses, the entire place looked and felt like a normal little town, instead of the inside of a previously government-owned facility. Despite absolutely not a single structural flaw in the dome, a small breeze glides through the air, whistling to the ears of any who would listen. Both Nathan and Charlie are confused, yet in awe by the experience at hand. But still they carry on. Nathan suggests going to the nearest building to search for information as he takes his next steps into the oddly beautiful scenery. Charlie, however, hesitates his next step until he realizes Nathan is already further ahead of him. Trees dance and sway in the cool breeze, grass and vines grow over large rocks in multiple buildings, and even clouds sail through the beautifully blue skies that couldn't possibly be real. But at this point, it's not unbelievable. With so much to admire, Nathan quickly loses focus on the task at hand until Charlie speaks up. "Hey, Nate, shouldn't we hurry up and get to wherever the hell we're going?" "Huh? Oh, yeah, sorry." Nathan snaps back to his senses and continues forward. As they continue to what seems like a small neighborhood, they notice something in the distant wooded area. It's a four-legged creature that could be a wolf or coyote. Nathan and Charlie pick up speed as they are unsure of what it could really be and prefer not to be attacked. On arrival to the neighborhood, the two men notice that multiple mannequins are oddly placed around as if they had been living a life. An eerie feeling washes over them as they both become a little more skeptical of being there. Nathan looks back to check on his friend and notices Charlie is visibly paranoid as he looks around. He feels a moment of guilt for making him come here for a story to cover, but that moment was just that, a moment. Nathan quickly nudges Charlie to get him to come with him as he walks up to an open house. As they walk in, they split up. Charlie searches the living room and kitchen. Nathan goes straight to the farthest bedroom in the back. Searching every nook and cranny, Nathan finds absolutely nothing but an old withered Bible. He begins to walk into another room when suddenly, Charlie's voice echoes through the empty hallway. "Holy fuck," Charlie exclaims. "What's wrong?" Nathan yells while running into the living room. Nathan finds Charlie holding an old yellowed stack of papers. Charlie hands them to Nathan without uttering a single word. On top is an old document that reads, August 17th, 1953. Testing is ready to commence for Project 718, Operation Super in the Environment Dome. However, there are no volunteers for testing just yet. August 18th, 1953, Chief Scientist Dr. Maximus Woods has volunteered as prime subject under the name Subject Zero. All tests are now being prepared. August 20th, 1953, Day 1 of testing has started. The super serum has been injected into Dr. Maximus Woods, aka Subject Zero, at approximately 12:53 a.m. It has been hours, and nothing has happened thus far. August 25th, 1953, Subject 0 has gained a slight form of telekinesis. Small signs of abnormally quick healing factors have also appeared, taking only a couple of hours to fully heal mid-large wounds made on the subject's body. Tests so far seem to be successful with no side effects. August 30th, 1953, Subject 0 has had impressive changes with easy-to-control telekinesis, rapid healing, and even large amounts of strength. September 5th, 1953, over the past week, Subject 0 has been undergoing small changes in personality, possibly a slight side effect of the serum. This will be monitored. September 10th, 1953, Subject 0 has become rapidly unstable, showing major signs of insanity. Subject does not seem to realize the environment is simulated and treats test mannequins placed around the environment dome as if they were living beings. September 17th, 1953, multiple teams have been sent in to try and allow real communication with living beings. However, all teams have been killed by Subject 0. He also does not allow anyone to retrieve the bodies, and it is unclear what he does with them. October 3rd, 1953, Subject has become far too unstable to continue any further testing. All research will be abandoned, but a small team will remain in the Overseer's office. For full safety measures, this team has agreed that if the facility must be destroyed, then they will die with it. This was the intended way in case of emergency. If the facility is self-destructed, no one inside will survive. What the hell? Nathan says fearfully. Read the newspaper article that's attached, says Charlie. The newspaper article reads, October 3rd, 1953. Today the government-run facility in Veradome had been shut down after multiple men had been slaughtered at the hands of the company's very own test subject, Subject 0. The few men who made it out alive today could not speak of or about the tests done, but we were told that their subject is still inside the facility. Test Subject 0 was locked inside only as a safety protocol, but many wonder how long will he remain there. Upon this discovery, Nathan stops to think and wonders if he screwed up by taking on this story to cover. Nathan, being himself, tries to lighten the mood, but before uttering a single word, he is cut off by a rough and deep voice in the distance. The voice now being the only thing to focus on, Nathan and Charlie look out the front windows of the old house and spot the figure of a man playing baseball with a mannequin. Upon further inspection, the man is wearing clothes obviously not of this era, with an old 50s jacket that is nearly torn to shreds, an old pair of blue jean slacks, a red shoe on one foot and a black one on the other, and hair that clearly hasn't been washed in years. The man is the exact look and description of pure insanity, not just with his looks, but also with his actions. He clearly is not a stable man. In the yard of the next house over, the man is talking and playing catch with a mannequin. For the last time, Jimmy, I'm tired of your shit. Catch the damn ball, or at the very least attempt to instead of just standing there. The crazed man screams as he chucks a baseball at its head, resulting in its immediate decapitation. Nathan, with a humor full of bad timing, nearly bursts into laughter. Shut the fuck up, Nathan. That's the guy from the document and newspaper article. He's Dr. Maximus Woods, Subject 0. He's been here since the 50s, Charlie fearfully exclaims. There's no way in hell, Charlie. The guy doesn't even look like he's past his mid-30s. I told you to call me Subject 0. That old name is dead to me. The man, now confirmed to be Subject 0, yells out to another mannequin. Believe me now, asshat. Charlie snaps at Nathan. Shush, what was that? Subject 0 quickly snaps his attention to Nathan and Charlie's direction and begins to walk to them. The two men look at each other in fearful confusion and simultaneously say, "Oh shit." Instinctually, Charlie runs out of the house from fear, and with a quick, "Fuck," Nathan follows him. Running out of the house like a couple of preyed upon animals, they run up the street further into the neighborhood. Taking a quick glance, Nathan spots a strange sight. Subject 0 and many other figures are chasing after them. Upon further examination, Nathan realizes that what he's witnessing is something straight out of a horror movie. The other figures are, in fact, not even humans. They're mannequins. All the mannequins they had seen back at the other houses are now moving like humans and coming right for them alongside Subject 0. Nathan is running so fast you could mistake him for a train breaking loose from its tracks, but sadly, Charlie is slowing down, unable to keep up with his friend. Nathan manages to reach a hiding spot behind a dumpster, unintentionally leaving Charlie to await his own horrors as Nathan is nothing but forced to watch. Charlie begins to stumble and trips over his own feet. Soon after, the mannequins catch up to him. Nathan wants to help, but knows he can't, so all he does is watch in horror. Lying on the ground, Charlie gasps for air as the mannequins and Subject Zero surround him. They stare at him for a moment before eventually beating him simultaneously until Charlie is soaked in his own blood, barely alive. Suddenly, they stop. Charlie, nearly lifeless, drags his gaze in Nathan's direction. He mouths, "Go," before coughing up blood. Nathan holds back tears and vomit as he looks away in guilt. All the mannequins that were once beating the life out of Charlie turn around and scatter before ultimately becoming, once again, inanimate objects. Like a lion searching for its prey, Subject Zero scans the area. With danger nearby, Nathan looks around to find a house with any open doors to attempt to find safety. He spots a nearby house with an open window and decides it's his best option. Without hesitation, Nathan sprints to the window and leaps in like a gazelle escaping its demise. Much to his surprise, he went unnoticed. "I might be insane, but I know I wasn't just seeing double of your little friend here. Where the hell are you?" screams Subject Zero as two mannequins carry Charlie's bloodied, yet still alive, body away. Nathan, afraid, yet determined, locks himself inside the house and sits behind a kitchen counter. He looks up to see if it's safe enough to search the house. Once he realizes it is, he begins to look around. The kitchen is oddly empty, not a single piece of silverware, plate, or food. Out of the entire house, the living room is the best looking part, even though it still looks like a tornado came through it. With hopes of finding something, Nathan scrummages through everything lying on the decrepit wooden floor. After a moment of searching, Nathan notices multiple papers scattered around, all dated October of 1953. All the papers say different things about Project Super and Subject Zero. Although most papers essentially say the same things, one paper stands out the most. It's a newspaper dated a few days after the imminent shutdown of the facility, October 9th, 1953. The project was abandoned and only a few escaped, but one former employee of Envirodome decides to speak up about the events. The main doors may have been closed, but they sadly were not locked. The scientist tells our interviewer, oddly, the doors were made to allow people in but not back out, unless you went to the overseer's office and unlocked the main doors. All this means anyone who decides to go inside without knowing this info will be trapped forever with a psychomaniac. Fortunately, Subject Zero's insanity affected his mind so badly, he doesn't even realize he's in a fake little world that's specially made for him. A little further down the same newspaper article it reads, "The former Envirodome employee continues. All documents will state that Dr. Maximus Woods volunteered to be Subject Zero, but that just isn't true. We tricked him. You see, we needed someone, and Dr. Woods was just this weird scientist that no one really liked. We convinced him that if he volunteered that he would be a hero, someone who could save our world if the serum worked. He was so happy and we just laughed at him, but knew we needed him for the tests. As soon as everything began, it all ended. As he became more and more deranged, he also became more determined to make the serum work. He eventually took living people he kept with him and made his own serum to try and perfect it, but it never worked. It just leads to each person to become crazier and far quicker. He ended up just killing everyone that the serum didn't work on. God knows what he does to any poor soul that innocently walks into that building and gets trapped. With this new knowledge, Nathan knew he fucked up by coming into this beautiful hell. Now filled with dreaded emotions, he gets onto his feet and sets onward through the hallway. As he reaches the beginning of the hallway, the front door is unexpectedly busted down by an already all too familiar figure, Subject Zero. Reacting quickly, Nathan sprints to the farthest back room of the house. Being the master bedroom, it has plenty of space, but sadly doesn't have a lock on the door. Thinking quickly, Nathan slams the door and nervously shoves a large stand-up dresser down on its side and in front of the doorway. He knows it won't hold for long, especially considering just a mere seconds ago, he witnessed Subject Zero burst a door off its hinges in the blink of an eye. Subject Zero is on the hunt, looking in every room all while Nathan stands in the master bedroom freaking out. Eventually, he comes to his senses and looks out the room's only window. It's quite a drop below due to the house sitting on a slanted yard. Without hesitation, Nathan prepares himself for his only option. He opens the window and prepares to jump as the door of the room begins to be beaten upon. The door eventually breaks in half and standing on the other side is Subject Zero. Nathan slings himself out the window, but it inevitably leads to pain. Nathan, with a possibly broken ankle, stands against the wall to stay as Subject Zero looks through the window, wondering how he could lose his only entertainment so easily. Subject Zero eventually angrily wanders off as he cusses at himself. Nathan takes that as his cue to stumble his way into the nearby forest. Nathan manages to make it a decent distance into the forest before stumbling and falling next to a large oak tree. Expecting to be free from danger for at least a while, he relaxes against the tree and closes his eyes. Far too early for assumptions, he hears something and quickly opens his eyes to see Subject Zero's fist unexpectedly rushing to his face, resulting in a knockout. After a while, Nathan cracks his eyes open, barely able to see. He looks around in a trance until he hears a familiar voice. "Hey, Nate, wake the fuck up, I'm not dead." Nathan fully comes to and looks over to see an upside-down Charlie. Confused, he looks at Charlie unsure of what to say. Eventually, he speaks. "What the fuck? Why the hell are you upside down?" Charlie points to Nathan's feet, revealing he is in fact the one upside down hanging by his feet. "Oh, fuck. What the fuck? Get me down, you asshole." Charlie unties the rope, leading to Nathan falling on his head. Rubbing his head, Nathan gets up with ease, which leads him to wonder why there's no pain in his ankle. He quickly shrugs it off and looks back at Charlie as he finally realizes the situation. "Wait a damn minute. How the hell are you alive? I saw you get beaten to a pulp." "Yeah. Well, first off, thanks for leaving me, but I'll tell you everything I know, just as they did for me." Charlie points over to a small crowd of people waiting behind the dark shadows of the room. With a short yet detailed briefing, he tells Nathan that these people are all the missing people they've been reporting about. They all have been curious people who have wandered into the facility but inevitably became a morbid science experiment by Subject Zero. Charlie continues on to tell Nathan that every single one of these people have been injected with a similar serum as Subject Zero, but each one is a slightly altered version. So let me get this straight. These people have all been injected with the same damn insanity poison as that madman, and there's absolutely no telling who could lose it and kill us with fucking telekinesis. Yeah, pretty much, but I've been told that Subject Zero murders every failed attempt before they hurt any of his other precious test subjects. So far, all he's done is prolong the insanity effects. Charlie, we have to somehow get the fuck out of here. We can't. Do you not understand what I just said? Look, I get that these people are innocent, but they're obviously going to be massive dangers to humanity. We can get out of here. I don't know how, but somehow. Nate, I can't get out of here. What the fuck are you talking about? Charlie raises up his arm and reveals a small pinprick of a needle in his skin. Charlie, what is that? No, wait, you were injected too. Yeah. Fuck. Look, as far as I'm concerned, you haven't been injected. There's no needle mark in your skin. You could actually get out of here. I'm not leaving you behind again, Charlie. It was a nightmare seeing what they did to you the first time. Nathan, Suddenly and very unexpectedly, one of the people in the crowd begins to scream from within the shadows. Nathan, confused and afraid, looks over at the man losing his sanity. Within seconds, the man stops screaming as the entire room falls into a deafening silence. The man looks in Nathan's direction and shines a demonic grin with a stare that could pierce the soul of any mortal man. Knowing the man is coming toward him, Nathan slowly starts backing up against the cold concrete walls. The man, with all new senses, uses his new telekinetic ability to push others from the crowd aside. Charlie, being brave for the first and possibly final time in his life, attempts to stand in the way but is quickly subdued as he's flung against the wall. Finally reaching Nathan, the man brings his gaze into a full-on stare into Nathan's soul. For Nathan, it's as if death has come for him. Suddenly, the man's gaze is ripped away by a familiar face of evil. Subject Zero heard the screams and came to claim his failed experiment. This led to an all-out brawl between the two men. Anyone would describe it in the same way you would if two rabid dogs were fighting over food. One dog gets up after being ripped open, and the other gets its face gashed by a hard-hitting blow. Yet, they still fight. Only difference between the two, one is just a dog wanting its food, and the other is trained to kill. Suddenly, with a vicious blow, Subject Zero wins the fight when he takes the man's head and slams it so hard into the concrete floor that his skull cracks open, causing blood, brains, and skull fragments to fly over the silent crowd. With one final glance, Subject Zero looks over the entire crowd. He ends his gaze by making sure Nathan is the last to see his devilish eyes. Soon after, he leaves the room and locks the door. Nathan stares at the corpse lying on the ground with a look of pure terror and proceeds to collapse onto the floor while holding back tears. The small concrete room soon fills with despair as everyone watches the tears of pain and fear run down Nathan's face. Charlie tries to make his longtime friend feel a little more hopeful, although he soon gives up as well, until he has a moment of realization. He remembers back to when they first were searching for information. He had found an article with some intriguing details. Okay, so there may be some hope after all. Charlie, what hope is there, huh? You're pretty much fucked and I don't exactly see a way out of here. One of the articles back at the house we were in said something about a self-destruct button. That's also how you open the main doors. Apparently, no one ever bothered, or I guess, never got the chance to hit the self-destruct timer and run their asses to the door. What if you could actually do that? Charlie, I already told you I don't want to leave you behind. God damn it, Nathan. I know. Fuck, I know. But I want you to survive. Can't you just listen to me for once? I would follow you through hell and back, and it kind of feels that way right now. So, can you just listen to what I want you to do for once while I'm practically on my deathbed? Okay, suddenly, an unexpected chance of escape arrives at their feet. Subject Zero and a few of his mannequins walk in to remove the mutilated corpse from the room. Unexpectedly, one of the people in the crowd begins to scream out in pain, just like the other man did moments ago before his demise. Oh, great, Subject Zero says, irritated. Soon after, multiple others begin to scream out in pain, until eventually the entire crowd follows suit. Nathan and somehow Charlie have not been affected. The room quickly becomes engulfed in a hurricane of insanity. This leads Subject Zero and the mannequins to getting distracted by the madness and accidentally leaves the door open. Subject Zero quickly gets attacked by everyone in the room, but he holds his ground firmly. Nathan knows this is the perfect chance to escape and signals Charlie to come with him. Charlie hesitantly comes along, but right as they reach the door, Nathan turns to hear the sounds of Charlie going through the worst pain of his life. Nathan looks in confusion, but quickly realizes he's about to have to accept his friend's fate. Nathan refuses to accept it, but he knows he needs to. Charlie suddenly lunges at Nathan and uses his last act of sanity and control to push him out the door. Get to the button, please. Charlie, I'm sorry. Charlie finally snaps and is engulfed in pure raging insanity. He lunges at Nathan, but before he reaches him, Nathan with teary eyes slams the door onto his friend, turns, and begins running out into the seemingly vast wilderness. As he runs, Nathan hears the cries of a dozen men and women as they get ripped apart. Knowing that among them is his best friend, Nathan begins to cry as he continues to run away from his previous hell. This is where the man in the tube, now known as Nathan White, stops due to bringing up too many memories. He's willing to finish his story with me, but only if I get this part out to the world. If enough people care about his story, then he will finish it. Otherwise, he will give in to his new life in a tube. I'm far too curious to give up on his story, so I hope people will care. For now, goodbye. Okay, so I said I would return with the rest of Nathan's story, and here I am. My higher-ups already know of my misdeeds when I uploaded part 1, so I don't think I'll be around much longer. Anyway, I spoke to Nathan some more, and he was fully willing to finish his story. After hearing it myself and transcribing it, I fully understand why he's in a tube, and why I'm monitoring him. After you read this, you will understand why as well. Let's get into it. Barely standing and gasping for air, Nathan takes a moment to stop running and realizes he has no idea where he is going. He begins looking around to see if there's anywhere to hide or even, hopefully, find food or at least water. After a moment, he finally spots a few buildings in the nearby distance. With high hopes, Nathan sprints past the remaining trees ahead and makes it to the buildings. Only one specific building catches his eye. A large sign that reads, "Grocery," stares at Nathan from the top of the building. Without hesitation, he rushes inside, and much to his amazement, there are aisles. Nathan quickly but quietly scans each aisle. Sadly, he sees nothing. Not until he sees a small pile of snacks lying next to a fallen end cap at the end of an aisle. Excitement dances through Nathan's body as he runs to the food and begins eating it like a wild animal. He devours every ounce of food he finds until he suddenly hears an unnerving sound. Listening closely as possible, Nathan hears the sound of cracking bones and ripping flesh. Afraid, yet curious, he looks around the corner of the aisle and spots the legs of a woman lying in her own blood and entrails. Upon further inspection, Nathan sees what he believes to be the creature he and Charlie had seen before. It's a large, thin four-legged animal that most likely was a wolf at one point, but is now just a beast. It's feasting on the entrails of the woman's corpse and refusing to take its taste buds away from its food. That is until it hears Nathan, who accidentally steps on a bag of chips. It swiftly averts its attention to Nathan, and the sight of its face is terrifying. Its face is half torn and its eyes show exactly how bloodthirsty it is. With blood and entrails dangling from its teeth, the beast fully turns its body to Nathan and lets out a deep and disturbing growl. Believing this to be his final moments alive, Nathan backs up and stumbles into the wall with his eyes closed and fists clenched. He is ready for the Reaper to take his soul. The beast closes in on him and readies itself to charge its prey, but is suddenly distracted by the voice of unwanted company. "Heal, you stupid mutt." It's once again Subject Zero, who is this time covered in large amounts of blood. The beast diverts its attention to Subject Zero and prepares for a fight. Unsure as to why Subject Zero didn't just let the beast kill him, Nathan stands and stares in terrified confusion. As Nathan watches, Subject Zero is attacked by the beast after a failed attempt at taming it. Directly after its attack, the beast is grabbed and bashed against a wall, then thrown to the floor. The animal, no longer looking like a beast compared to Subject Zero, stands again and viciously sinks its teeth into Subject Zero's arm, but its life is soon ended. With a large and swift pull on the animal's rear legs with its teeth still bore into Subject Zero's arm, its body rips apart and its entrails fall out onto the floor. "I knew you were a waste," Subject Zero says with disappointment in his voice. Nathan quickly snaps back to reality and runs out the nearby emergency exit. No longer caring about hunger or thirst, he just keeps running and doesn't stop even when he stumbles from exhaustion. Inevitably, any hope he once had is lost when in the not-so-far distance he hears, "Just because the mutt didn't kill you, that doesn't mean that I won't." Still running further into the woods, Nathan begins to stumble. He finally stops and falls to his knees as he begins to believe he is going to die here. He falls onto his back and lies in the grass around him while releasing a long, but relaxing sigh. Nathan can feel the cold, hard ground beneath him as he looks up to the sky. Filled with raging guilt and regrets, Nathan stares up to the sky in silence. It gets so silent, he can hear everything around him. He hears the wind sing through the leaves of trees. He can even hear water flowing nearby. Water. Unsure of where, he looks up quickly and listens. Finally, he spots a creek nearby and climbs to his hands and knees. Unable to fully stand, Nathan crawls his way to the creek, ignoring all of his surroundings. He reaches the creek and practically bathes himself in the near-freezing water in an attempt to feel refreshed. Afterwards, he begins to guzzle the water in handfuls. After many handfuls of water, Nathan notices something odd. The water tastes metallic, as if you were sucking on an old copper penny or silver spoon. Upon this realization, he also notices the color of the water seems off. Unsure of why, he looks around only to find something far more disturbing than he imagined. An amalgamation of mutilated corpses sit nearby, rotting on the rocks of the creek shore. Realizing he had just drank water contaminated with rotting corpses of innocent people, Nathan starts getting a sick feeling in his stomach and attempts to look away but can't get his eyes off the sight. Finally breaking, he begins gagging vigorously. He loses control and starts puking uncontrollably before ultimately collapsing from pain and disgust. Nathan finally gets up after lying on the ground for a moment. Hoping to find at least some form of shelter, he manages to get himself up to his aching feet and stumbles his way down the creek. Eventually, he reaches the end of the creek, where a large pipe is sticking out from the ground at an angle. The pipe, being large enough to fit a man, seems like a perfect place to shelter in. Before fully deciding to sleep there, Nathan looks inside, hoping that it may lead to an exit from the dome, but is quickly disappointed when he sees only dirt and mud. Nathan no longer cares and decides to climb into the pipe. He manages to make it an adequate resting area. Soon after, he is unable to keep his eyes open and finally falls asleep. Nathan, wake up. You're going on live television. A very familiar voice whispers to Nathan. He opens his eyes expecting to see different surroundings, but instead he sees Charlie sitting next to him in an unfamiliar building. Obviously confused, Nathan hesitates to even move but decides to go with it. He's led out to a room with a male interviewer, revealing that he is on a live television interview. The interviewer looks to the camera and says, "Welcome to Talk Time. I'm your host, Tim Weasley, and today we have Nathan White." Just in case you don't know, Nathan is a brilliant reporter and reports anything in the most brilliant ways. One specific story he covered about his near-death experience is what we would like to talk about today. So, Nathan, could you tell the viewers more about your experience? Nathan hesitates at first, but oddly starts believing that he made it out of the hell he was in and just dissociated. He starts telling the interviewer everything that happened to him. Well, Tim, for starters, my colleague and I had found evidence that Envirodome was a test facility. Little did we know, one test they ran there was still in the facility after decades. We then found all the missing people over the years, but they were unfortunate and passed away at the hands of the facility's test subject. I eventually lost my colleague and had a run-in with a rabid animal as well, but I got away and managed to find a place to sleep. After that, I climbed out and decided to. Nathan stops in his tracks as he realizes he can't remember what happened after the tunnel. Wait, this can't be real. I vividly remember Charlie going insane, and all those other people started losing their minds and they all started killing each other. I remember all that, yet I can't remember a damn thing after falling asleep in that tunnel. What the fuck is going on? Charlie comes running out and attempts to calm Nathan, but fails, as Nathan screams back, "You're dead. You're fucking dead. I know you are. You aren't real. None of you. None of this. None of it is real." Soon after realizing everything is fake, all of Nathan's surroundings start changing. Everything around him becomes morbidly dark and people become mutated corpses, all of which walk over to him. They all start screaming at Nathan, resulting in him breaking, and he loses his mind to the brink of insanity. Out of the dark shadows, Subject Zero walks into the area as if he were a dark god who created him and was ready to destroy him. Suddenly, everyone surrounding Nathan abruptly stops screaming and looks at him. Then they all in perfect sync say, "You're losing control, Nathan." Nathan angrily stands tall and yells, "Leave me alone." After this fierce scream with his eyes shut, Nathan suddenly hears nothing but the sound of running water. He opens his eyes only to find he was still in the town under the dome, only now it is somehow nighttime. Suddenly, he's startled by the sound of splashing water. Nathan quietly looks up from the inside of the tunnel he's lying in. In a decent distance away, Nathan sees two mannequins throwing multiple bodies into the already corpse-filled creek. Although one body stands out amongst the rest, Charlie's. His body is mangled and mutilated. Nathan feels sick and guilty as he stares at his dead friend. Soon, Subject Zero's voice is heard, resulting in Nathan realizing he needs to sneak out of the area. He quickly climbs out of the tunnel and looks around. He decides his best option is to go in one direction until he hopefully reaches an edge of the dome. He believes it may help him reach the Overseer's office where the self-destruct button is. With his new plan, Nathan quietly sneaks away until he accidentally rams into the edge of the dome. He becomes angry at first for being dumb enough to run into it, but eventually realizes he could be on his way to salvation. Nathan, still tired, stumbles around the edge of the dome and looks strange considering the walls are simulated to look like more land. Even though Nathan can barely handle all the stress, he still forces himself to keep moving with high hopes to avenge his deceased friend. He keeps going until he stumbles over a small brush pile. He falls onto his face and notices blood pouring from his nose. Assuming his nose has broken from the fall, Nathan quickly checks it, but oddly there is no pain, and the bleeding has already stopped. He's confused, but doesn't care as he's determined to escape. He gets up and eventually reaches an odd-looking spot of the dome wall. With a closer look, he realizes it's a door, full of hope. Nathan quickly opens it and discovers a staircase leading to the Overseer's office. Nathan runs up without hesitation. He reaches the top of the stairs and makes it to the controls. Being dark, Nathan feels around for a light switch, but as he thinks it, the lights come on. Now with light, he sees papers lying everywhere, all with information of the dome. Apparently, the government had the technology to make all this without ever letting the public know. It was built with a self-destruct button as safety measures if anything within the dome went horribly wrong. Although Nathan thought it would be an explosion as most self-destruct buttons cause, the dome was made to disassemble itself as it counted down, allowing the slight possibility of reaching the only entrance and exit doors of the facility. Nathan realizes he may actually have a chance to escape this hell and avenge his friend. After a small pause, he gets back to searching for the self-destruct button. He stumbles across a glass casing labeled for emergencies only. Nathan opens the casing and prepares to press the button, but is quickly distracted as a voice breaks the silence. This place hasn't been real after all these damned years. Subject Zero reacts angrily as he slowly walks toward Nathan. I knew this place seemed a bit small, but now that I know I can get out of here, I'll bring my tests to the whole damn world. Why would you even want that? Every single test you have done with that fucking serum has been a failure. No, I've perfected my serum. What the fuck do you mean? Without a single other word, Subject Zero rushes toward Nathan. Nathan quickly reacts and raises his arms in defense. Suddenly, Subject Zero flies backwards as if he was shoved with incredible force. They both now know Nathan was the cause. That is what I mean, Subject Zero says with a grin on his face. No, what the fuck? How? You really think I didn't take the opportunity to inject a new version of the serum into you? But there wasn't an injection hole. Everyone else had one. That's the great thing about it. I perfected it so much that your healing is far greater than even mine. And you didn't lose your mind like I did. That's all I ever wanted. Screw you. Nathan clenches his fist and swings a punch at Subject Zero. Realizing things move just from his thought now, Nathan opens his hand and telekinetically throws things at Subject Zero. The two begin to have an all-out super-powered brawl, as Subject Zero explains to Nathan that the serum is why every pain he's felt while in the dome went away nearly immediately. The telekinesis just happened to come into play later on. Then suddenly, Nathan is slammed through and out the Overseer's office windows. Subject Zero jumps down onto him. Nathan gets weaker with each hit he takes but still fights on. Before he gets up, he notices that where the broken window is, the walls show their true colors of concrete, gray, and glass. Aside from the window, Nathan notices the door to the office is still wide open. He quickly gives Subject Zero a powerful kick to his abdomen and jumps up to run. Nathan runs quickly up the stairs into the self-destruct button after leaving his enemy on the ground outside. As he reaches the button, Nathan looks out the broken window at Subject Zero and prepares to press the button. Nathan slams his hand onto the button as Subject Zero yells out in hatred. Nathan, expecting something to happen, waits. Subject Zero laughs hysterically but then suddenly is cut off by a loud voice projecting across the whole dome, commencing self-destruction sequence. Nathan notices Subject Zero is distracted and uses this as his chance to escape. 10, 9, 8. The countdown begins and the sun begins to rise as Nathan runs out of the office and past the unaware Subject Zero. 7, 6, 5. The countdown continues and the facility begins to collapse as Nathan passes through the woods where he drank from the creek and soon passes the concrete room where the other people were held captive. 4, 3, 2. The countdown gets closer to an end as the dome collapses quicker and Nathan rushes past the old house he was stuck in before. Soon enough, he gets onto the road that led him and Charlie to the town inside the dome and gets even closer to the door, but suddenly, Subject Zero is following behind. This time, he's so angry and determined, Subject Zero uses his telekinetic powers to control the mangled corpses that he's kept. He's headed for either the door or Nathan, but Nathan doesn't care. 1. The countdown comes to an end and the entire dome collapses above. Subject Zero, far behind with his army of corpses, stops and accepts what is coming, but Nathan keeps running and hopes to escape before the weight of 1,000,000 tons comes crashing down onto him. Soon enough, the dome becomes nothing but rubble. The entire area where the dome once stood is now a ginormous pile of rubble, and all that stands are a few trees and small bits of buildings. Nothing could have lived from inside, unless you were close to the doors. Nathan, barely standing or even really alive, stumbles around the rubble. With his new powers, he uses his telekinesis to move a large piece of steel, revealing a small group of men nearby. Within this group are a couple of men who are clearly scientists of some sort, but the others are clearly military. Nathan runs to them with hopes of help, but suddenly, "Stop right there," one of the men yells out angrily but with a quiver in his voice. "Put your heads above your head and don't speak." "Wait, I just need help," I said. "Put your hands above your head." Nathan is confused, so he looks around in the hopes that maybe Subject Zero is who he spotted. Sadly, the guns are all being aimed straight for him. This is the end of Nathan's story, but it isn't the end of mine. After hearing Nathan's story, I have an understanding of why he's in the tube here. I can firmly admit that I'm terrified. I had no idea this is why I was sent here. I was led to believe he was just a possible danger and I needed to monitor him and continue brain scans. Little did I know, this is why. I know it seems a bit strange and even unbelievable, but I have no real reason to not believe a man trapped inside a tube. But now that he has spoken to me, he's asked me to help him. However, I have no idea how. Aside from letting him out, there's nothing else I can do. The higher-ups here are strict and have specifically told anyone working here not to listen to Nathan. On top of that, they're already suspicious of me. I suppose getting his story out is one way to help him, but he also wants out of here. I don't know what to do, but I do understand I've already gone too far by even listening to him. Hell, he may even be as dangerous now as Subject Zero from the story he told me. If he is, I could release a madman into the world. If he isn't, I'm letting an innocent man suffer alone in a science facility. Screw it. I've come to terms with what must happen. I'll release him the moment I can, if I even can. Once this story is shown to the public, I may end up terminated, not from my job, but from my life. If this happens, then I'm sorry to Nathan. If Nathan turns out to be a danger as well, then I'm sorry to all of you. For now and possibly forever, goodbye.